I am not even going to try and lie to myself and pretend this is going to be a quick reading wrap up, because I say that every month and it never is. But I will attempt to not prattle on for too long. So I read 17 books in the month of August, which is excellent. I am loving the immersive reading that I'm doing at the moment, where I'm listening as I'm reading along. It just helps me keep my pace, helps me keep concentrating on what I'm reading in the moment and not distracted by outside things, mostly kids. And it's just really helping me get through that massive TBR that I have. So I absolutely recommend it. Let's start with a goodie. I have been making my way through the Kate Daniels series. It's an urban fantasy series set in a world where magic and technology clash, and there are rises and flows of when technology is available to use and when magic is available to use. It's incredible. I didn't know if I was going to love this from book one, but I pushed through and I'm so happy I did, because it is now one of my favourite series. So I read 4 books in this world, 2 full length and 2 novellas. Absolutely incredible. I just love it. Each book that I read, I love it more. Were there problems in maybe one of the books that I didn't love so much? Yes. Current, I'm looking at you and that goddamn princess. But I get the reasoning. The reasoning was solid. I still enjoyed it. But you was an ass. You was an ass and you deserved the chewing out that Kate gave you, and it was so satisfying. The grovel was there. I loved it. So yeah, if you've been on the fence about this series, absolutely go ahead for it. I was reading the graphic audios for the first couple of books. They've stopped doing them from where I'm up to in the series now. I wish they had more, because the graphic audio was so good. It took a while to get used to. And now I miss it now that I don't have it. But still, it's still really, really excellent. I read book 2 in the Dragon Dojo Brotherhood series. I think it's Fate of Dragons. I like this less than book 1. It was a little bit repetitive, a little bit dull at times. It was good. It pushed the story along. I'm not as keen to now continue with the rest of the series, because there are 8 books in total in this series, and I just don't know if there's enough behind it to push me through this many more books. I may give the 3rd book a go, and if it's still dragging, I'll call it quits. But book 1 was really good. I liked the setup, so I don't know. 3 Swedish Mountain Men by Lily Gold. I love this book. I ate it up. My first Lily Gold was Faking with Benefits. I liked that less. It was a little bit too long for me, and there was too much focus on the relationships, and I was just a bit bored. But this one, I love this one so much. It was adorable. I like that we have a FMC sort of on the run in hiding. That is one of my favourite tropes, especially in like the snowy, mountainy regions. This is kind of a spoiler, so but it has one of my other favourite tropes, which is like when she's like almost near death. I love that so much. We get a bit of grovelling, not a whole lot, but you know what they did wasn't, you know, crazy bad. So you know, it was just everything I wanted it to be. I think I read it in like one sitting. It was so fun and cute and spicy. So yeah, absolutely recommend this one. I had my arc for Delicate Escape by Catherine Cowles. It was everything I wanted it to be. I was so lucky to be able to grab the arc for the audiobook as well, and it was just, so good. It was so good. Absolutely recommend the Sparrow Falls series. If you like, you know, romantic suspense, you know, there's always some kind of a bad guy, a kidnapping, a serial killer, a stalker, that kind of vibes. But then you have the cute small town romance as well, and there's always hurt, comfort, and all the rest of that. I have found this series to be a bit spicier than Catherine's previous ones that I've read, which I'm loving. But it's not in there too much. It's in there when it's needed, and it's the right amount. So absolutely recommend. I am kicking myself for not picking up the Book of Asriel sooner, because I absolutely love book 1. Diana is just an absolute amazing FMC. She is giving me kind of Faith from Buffy vibes, or like Catherine Pierce. Like, she just has that bad girl attitude down. I love it so much. I really did want to dive straight into book 2, but knowing that this series is not complete yet, I am trying to take my time and savour the series, because I know when I get to the end of book 3, I'm going to be devastated. So yeah, love it, recommend it. It is kind of a little bit on the darker side. I can imagine it's probably going to get darker as I read more, but yeah, absolutely, it's great. And speaking of dark books, I finally got round to reading Sea of Ruin by Pam Godwin. This was absolutely incredible. I knew it was going to be, and I put it off for so long because I knew it was going to absolutely ruin me, and it did. There are some really, really dark situations in this, so obviously don't go into it if you are sensitive to triggers. You know, the way that Pam writes is so detailed and graphic that it makes the uncomfortable parts uncomfortable, as you're supposed to. But yes, I absolutely loved it. One of the MMCs here, because this is a poly romance, I don't feel like we had enough time with him in this book for me to develop any kind of attachment to him. But there is a prequel like novella that is more centered around him and Bennett, so maybe I'll read that and I will feel differently. But overall, I absolutely loved it. I've been having some absolute bangers this month, so great month. And here's where the month took a slight turn for me. I had such high expectations for this duet, so I did read both the books, part 1 and part 2 of Riches to Riches. I had the highest hopes for this series. I've seen it recommended so many times. I'm a huge Why Choose lover. This is obviously absolutely more of a poly than Why Choose Reverse Harem, so it is fully poly. Just know that going in. The first book was 90% spice, 10% plot. I am not exaggerating that. And I am a girl who loves my spice. I love getting into the nitty gritty, but it was just too much. It was almost every chapter, and I was like, plot, who is she? Which is a real shame, because the start of the book, the premise, you know, with the mafia boss lady, and you know, her finding out that her new boyfriend is the brother of her rivals. That's a great premise. I love that. That's amazing. It's just a shame we didn't keep up with that, and yeah, I was left disappointed. I read the whole thing. I was engaged. The spice was spicing. If you want that from a book, absolutely go and pick this up. Book 2, we did get more plot, and I really liked how that one started off. We were dealing with trauma and dark themes, and then it was, you know, it's kind of my boyfriend has boyfriends, and then now my other boyfriend has boyfriends, and then they're my boyfriends, and it felt like we spent a lot of time on the male relationships, and like the FMC was a side character in her own story. And I get that some of those relationships were very necessary and very important, but then it just kind of felt like a free-for-all, and some of the guys who had no interest previously were just suddenly, any hole's a goal. Any hole is a goal. And it just it took away from the main relationships, and it made them feel less important. And now I'm running out of time. Alpha Theo, Wolf Shifter, standalone romance. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. Cute. I read Glitch, spicy, short book, fun, spicy. Dragons of Ember Hollow trilogy. Book 1 was the strongest. Book 3 let me down. We just kind of wrapped everything up way too quickly. Overall, it was a fun series. It was a really short book, quick sort of palate cleansers. I'm glad I read them, but they were nothing crazy amazing. Finishing off with White Horse Black Knight. I will talk more about this book in another video because it deserves its own, because it was absolutely beautiful. Bodyguard, forbidden romance. It's like Snow White, Lady Godiva all rolled into one. The hate schmecks is it's so good. But yes, I will talk more about that book. I am going to immediately start book 2 as soon as possible, and I will give my thoughts on the series as a whole. I have applied for the ARC for book 3, so that's why I am just absolutely devouring these now, so that I can get to that one when I get it. We did it.